Five Nights at Freddy's is finally out in cinemas. It's also streaming currently over on Peacock. So if you guys want to stay at home, watch this movie, hide underneath the blankets during the scary bits, I totally understand. Five Nights at Freddy's follows our main character, Mike, as he is a struggling security guard trying to make ends meet while also providing for his younger baby sister. And then that's when he applies to work at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. And that is where the ensuing chaos begins. Now, I've heard a lot of discussion about this movie, and I have to say, it feels like a lot of people are missing the point of this movie. This movie, it is made for children. It is made for young teens. It's a PG-13 movie based off of a children's horror game. This movie is to create a bridge between the two mediums, and I think what this movie does is fantastic. Not only does it perform that job, it does so many things well within such a limited time period. This movie began filming, I think, in earlier this year, like early 2023, if I had to guess. They were able to make this so much more quicker. They didn't use a lot of CG. Where there was CG, yes, it was noticeable, but they actually relied on Jim Henson's Creature Shop, the man who made Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, and so many more iconic movies. That's what I love a lot about this movie, is that backstory of how these animatronics were created using Jim Henson's Creature Shop. I went into this with just a bigger appreciation for what I was seeing on screen. This movie is a movie you need to go check out in the cinema with a crowd, or at least watch it at home with a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, because watching the crowd just freak out over every small cameo, and yes, I did recognize some cameos. I do watch a lot of YouTube. There are a lot of YouTubers in this movie. I loved seeing all of them, and some of the lines they drop are just hilarious. They're on brand, and I love that the movie loves to have fun with it. The movie does know when to service its fans, and it services fans really, really well. It doesn't really interfere with the plot. It's just a little in and out kind of situation. Now, this movie is based off of a video game, which is almost 10 years old, believe it or not. And I think what they did here with the source material, it was really well received by the audience, because not only did it prioritize how the game functioned and the characters from the games, it also made little cameos, Easter egg hints at other characters who we actually didn't see throughout the movie. The clapping, the cheering, they were very, very invested in this movie. I think Five Nights at Freddy's fans, based off of my theater experience alone, I think they're going to enjoy this movie a lot. Now, as for just movie watchers like myself, this movie may hit, it also may completely miss. For me, I think this movie was a definite hit. It doesn't really seem like it would work on paper, but when you watch it in the movie, it makes sense. The main character, Mike, he is very much focused on discovering who kidnapped his younger brother many, many years ago, back when he himself was a child. He is using this dream theory to understand his dreams and understand those visuals and get those details back from his memory, because he believes everything is stored up in here. You just have to remember it in some which way to remind you. And unfortunately, a lot of this personal character weight that I do enjoy, and it really builds up Josh Hutcherson's character, Mike, it doesn't translate that well into the movie until the very final scene, which is very unfortunate, because I feel like there could have been a lot more connections. The game enjoyers, they're getting a lot out of this movie, whereas people just going into this film blindly, they are kind of experiencing a withdrawal, a weird phenomena with this movie, and they don't know how to bridge the gap that the gamers, they themselves, do. Now, speaking of characters, character weight, I actually didn't enjoy a lot of the characters in this movie for a vast majority of the film. It wasn't until a lot of the answers got revealed to when you then understand why some of the characters acted the way they did, their motives, and so on. Now, again, I do believe one of the biggest faults with this movie is that it fails to connect a lot of threads early on. There's not a lot of build-up. You're just kind of there for the Five Nights theme, and yes, it is there. It's presented well. The fan service is there, but again, the threads, they're just not connected for your basic viewer to follow. There's nothing really engaging for them, enriching for them. Everything is just plastered on the very end. But yes, this movie had a very, very quick turnaround time that I believe impacted the plot overall. And now let's dive into the spooks and scares and everything in between. This movie is very much appreciated because it does do what it sets out to do, which is entertain children. This is for kids, and a lot of people out there are wondering why this wasn't rated R. They want that gore factor. They want some more disturbing imagery, I guess. But this movie, it's not for adults. It's not for film critics. It's not for your average person. This is definitely geared towards your Five Nights at Freddy's fan base, and my gosh, do they have a fan base. I think everything here, especially for the kiddos, it's very well received. I don't think they're gonna get too spooked. Yes, there are some scary factors in here, some jump scares here and there, which of course I'm not a huge fan of. I would actually say that this movie is a much better watch than the currently airing Goosebumps series over on Hulu and Disney Plus, whereas that talks a lot of disturbing stuff and some just interesting topics that I don't think kids would fully understand. I think with this movie, there's a lot that they can kind of grasp onto here. And just a quick reminder that this video is not sponsored. Everything is created by me, myself, and I. I love talking about movies with you guys. And if you guys do want to support the channel, be sure to leave a comment down below, a like. All the engagement helps, but what truly is beneficial is hitting that sub button for more movie reviews coming your way, and potentially even more, because I do have bigger ideas for this channel that I do want to implement. It's just going to take time, and with your guys' subscriptions, it can happen a lot faster. Now back to Five Nights at Freddy's. Is this a movie that I see myself watching yearly? Possibly, because I actually did enjoy my time with this movie. I loved a lot of the writing here. I loved a lot of the gaffing work as well, the lighting direction in this movie. There was this scene of Mike in this school situation where he was talking to his little sister's teacher, and for some odd reason, the lighting in that scene was beautiful. It was impeccable to watch, and I was just wondering myself, how did they get that exposure right in the background and light these characters? Is that a green screen? It doesn't look like a green screen. I'm not entirely sure how exactly they pulled off some of these lighting situations. And some of the lighting situations are in the early morning hours, where as a filmmaker, if you know, that is some very harsh lighting to work with, but they make it look beautiful and soft. If I could see light like that every time I woke up, I would probably be more of a morning person. This film was very well visually executed, especially so with the camera work, because they filmed this in a taller aspect ratio. I don't believe this was shot in 16:9 because a lot of the animatronics, when compared to the human characters, they are taller in stature. Everything scales appropriately, and it makes them just a little bit more scary because yes, they are cutesy, but they are also killer robots. And having them tower over you, I think that's special, especially in terms of filmmaking and storytelling. It tells its own little story within the lens itself, and that's something as a filmmaker I can definitely get on board with, and I overall just really appreciate. And then just a tidbit more information, they do something in this movie. All I can say is that Scream would never ever consider doing this, and if they do after this movie, it's probably too little too late. But they do something in this film that's very reminiscent. I just enjoyed the performance where that was given. For those of you who have watched the film, you probably know what I'm talking about, and Scream fans, you probably also know what I'm talking about, and you might actually hate that opinion, but I very much enjoyed what happened in that Scream-like situation. Otherwise, I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, it was just good, and I just wanted to talk about it real quick. That's gonna go ahead and do it for my review of Five Nights at Freddy's. Did you guys enjoy this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you played the games? And if you have, let me know. What did you think about this movie overall? Also, if you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like. It does help out a lot. Leave comments about what you enjoyed about the movie. The engagement, it does really, really help. Speaking of which, subscribing and turning on the notification bell, it also helps out for you guys to know when I post a future movie review, and also more content to come. I do have a lot of plans for this channel, and more subscribers means that comes a lot faster, so hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, my name's Austin, rhymes with Boston, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.